Pardon the interruption, but I'm Frank Isola, and I went to last night's Copa America game. So I'm prepared to talk soccer right here.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Hallelujah. Wilbon went to 2 games in his life, thinks he's an expert. Doesn't know anything. You played college soccer, didn't you? Didn't you walk on and play college soccer?
Walked on 1 year. Then they got rid of me.
Okay, so you know what you're doing. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. Wilbon has the day off. Here to bring actual soccer knowledge to the table is our great friend, Frank Isola.
Still have some fans.
But we begin today with the second Euro semifinal. The Netherlands started the scoring with a rocket. England evened things up in controversial fashion, a debatable foul, followed by a VAR review that set up Harry Kane's penalty kick goal. The game stayed tied until late in regulation when Ollie Watkins drove home the game winner for England. Frank, what do you make of this result?
It's a great win, obviously, for England. Tony, third straight knockout game where they trailed 1-0. They scored to tie it and ended up winning the game. And this one was dramatic, obviously, because Ollie Watkins, I heard Bradley Wright Phillips today on radio. He's a former player. He's now a pundit from Great Britain. He said, I want to see Ollie Watkins in there for Harry Kane. I see the substitution happening, and I'm saying, why are you taking out Harry Kane? That's who you want as a goal scorer. What happens? Ollie Watkins ends up scoring. But England, they weren't good in the group stage, and the way the English fans are, they always think the sky is falling. They're getting a lot better. It sets up a really good final on Sunday between Spain. By the way, second straight final in the Euro for England.
So let me go to Ollie Watkins for a second. And let me say that, as everybody knows, I know nothing about soccer. I am sitting watching this as well, hoping simply that it ends so we can get it into the show. And there's a goal, an apparent goal by England that gets waved off, right? Well, there was a penalty, so they didn't actually get that goal. At that moment, the English coach takes out 2 guys, one of whom is Harry Kane, who the last time I looked is the only guy who actually scored for England. And I say out loud, well, the coach must be on the take. What is he, nuts? And then the fact that the kid who came in scored the winning goal is, of course, wonderful and proves again I know absolutely nothing. But I know enough to say this, that England loves soccer and just is crestfallen every time they lose. And they lose all the time. They haven't won since the World Cup in 1966. They're like the Knicks. They get a lot of people talking about them, and a lot of people get happy, and they never actually win. So now they have a chance to win a major tournament, and that's a wonderful thing for England and soccer.
It's a great point you bring up, because they also have a bit of what the Chicago Cubs fans and Boston Red Sox fans used to have, where they're always waiting for something bad to happen. But there's a much more cynical side to the English fans. I mean, I've spoken to guys before who say, well, even if we win, we haven't played well. That's how they think. They're so negative, and sometimes it seeps into the team. But give this team credit. They were nearly knocked out in the first knockout game, but here they are going to the final on Sunday. So well done by England.
We move now to the United States Olympic basketball team. Kawhi Leonard has withdrawn. Leonard said he was ready to compete and participated in practices, but the Clippers and USA Basketball felt that Leonard's bad knee would not allow him to play at speeds necessary for this competition. Leonard's spot will be taken by Boston's Derek White. Frank, what does this decision say to you?
It's amazing. If you're going to tell me, and if I gave you a quiz, there are 3 Celtics on the team, guess their names, I guarantee you would say Jaylen Brown. That's not the answer.
Sure.
It's now Jason Tatum, Derek White, and Drew Holiday. I don't know how you don't have Jaylen Brown on the team. And I had heard that Jaylen Brown had made it known to USA Basketball that he wants to be there. Meanwhile, for Kawhi Leonard, he wasn't available in the playoffs. There have been reports about that his knee has been swelling since then. He's not going to be able to play in the Olympics. Who knows what's going on with the Clippers, because Paul George is gone, and now Kawhi Leonard seems to be in limbo.
This is what it says to me, that there's no room for load management in the Olympics.
You're right.
Kawhi Leonard misses games all the time. All the time. It's the second paragraph on every story about Kawhi Leonard. How many games has he just missed? All right, the United States does not need Kawhi Leonard to win the gold medal.
No.
Derek White will probably play as many, if not more, minutes and be a very good defensive player. I agree with you about Jaylen Brown, who's probably sitting there going, wait a second. Jason Kidd said I was the best player on this team, and I'm not playing on this team.
Finals
Thank
MVP.
you for mentioning Paul George. Thank you. I want to get to Paul George for a second. The other day, Paul George said that he was disrespected by the Clippers. And that's why he didn't sign there with their contract offer. That's his word, disrespected. Are you kidding me? What has Paul George exactly ever won? How does he think that he is LeBron James? I mean, I don't get you. You cover this. I don't get this. What's he talking about?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mention that because 2 weeks ago, I had somebody tell me Kawhi Leonard's still experiencing soreness on his knee. I don't think he's going to be available for the Olympics. If I knew that, you don't think Paul George knows that when he's in free agency? I think he's thinking, you know what, my career, I've never been to a finals. I need to go someplace where I have a chance to win. I think that's why he left and making about being disrespected by the Clippers. And you're also right about the load management thing because Grant Hill's made it known. I want guys that are going to play. This isn't a free trip to Paris. You're not going to be gifted a gold medal, except for maybe Joel Embiid in this case. And I think that's why I said, no, we're not taking any injured players. You got to be healthy to go. That's one of the reasons that Kawhi Leonard's not on the team anymore. That has a lot to do with it. All right, let's move to the NFL. Joe Burrow told Part of My Take that in an 18-game schedule scenario, teams would have to have 2 bye weeks. Former NFL quarterback Chase Daniel then tweeted in response, quote, I guarantee you every NFL player seeing this is not happy with Burrow for saying this. The owners just gained some leverage over the players. This is what happens when a top 5 QB speaks in favor of an 18-game season. Tony, do you think Joe Burrow did anything wrong here?
There can't be anybody in the United States of America who doesn't realize that the NFL is going to an 18-game schedule. 17 games is not sustainable. 17 games, honestly, is idiotic. All right? I mean, it's a placeholder for 18. Everybody understands this. Joe Burrow stands up and he says, we want to have 2 bye weeks. What do you think? Players ought to be happy about that. What do you think if you're labor you can ask for? You can ask for more money and you can ask for time off, and that's all you can ask for. You should go to the owners and say, you say that you care about our injured status, then give us an extra week off so that our bodies can heal. I find it sort of amusing that Chase Daniel, who was a backup quarterback for 13 seasons, started 5 games in his career, is taking on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow in his first 6 weeks at Cincinnati started more games than Chase Daniel did in his whole career. Although I admire Frank beefing up like this. That's pretty cool.
And you're so right, too, about Joe Burrow. What he's saying is he knows it's inevitable, so he's throwing it out there. All right, you want 18 games, we need 2 bye weeks then. What he's doing is advocating for the players. And if, by the way, a little, earth to Chase Daniel, to say the owners have gained leverage, the owners always have leverage over the players in the NFL. This isn't baseball where the players' union in baseball has a lot of power. No offense to the NFL union. They don't have as much power over the owners as they do in baseball. So the idea that he's somehow speaking on behalf of the owners, give me a break.
When you get to 17, you've crossed the Rubicon. Everyone knows it's going to be 18. When you finish a season with a record like 9-8 or 10-7, that's crazy. It feels incomplete. You have to end on an even number. Every other league does that. We move now to Wimbledon, where Italy's Lorenzo Musetti prevented Taylor Fritz from becoming the first American man to reach the semis in 6 years by beating him in 5 sets. Musetti, the 25 seed, will now play a completely rested Novak Djokovic, who had a walkover today when his opponent withdrew with a hip injury. Frank Djokovic had knee surgery last month. How much of an achievement would it be if Djokovic won Wimbledon?
Yeah. What I was going to say also about the last topic was that we're going to get a game President's Weekend, which is what we've all wanted. That's when the Super Bowl should be played, much later in February. For Djokovic, it's amazing. It feels like it was a rope-a-dope, the idea of the knee injury, because I'm thinking, how is he going to win at Wimbledon with a knee injury? The last match that he played only went 3 sets. Now he gets to walk over into the semifinals. He's really set up right here. And I think that's why he got upset with the crowd the other day when he thought they were booing. Because, Wimbledon does a great job bringing around these past champions, British celebrities and royalty. And everyone kind of gets, bowed down to. And I think it bothers Djokovic that he's such a great player, a legendary player. You can make the case he played in the Federer-Nadal era, that he's a better player than them. He's he's the greatest of all time. And I think it bothers him
that's the
knowing that
position.
He's on the verge of getting, knowing that he's going to get that 25th major.
So I watched a lot of the Fritz Musetti match. I watched that. And Fritz won the first set and looked to be cruising. Then he lost the second and third set, comes back in the fourth. He gets run. totally run in the fifth
Yeah.
set. But I think Musetti going against Djokovic has a bunch of things to worry about. One, he's got to be fatigued. Two, he's the 25 seed, and Djokovic is the 2. And 3, Djokovic totally rested. Hasn't gone 5, as you said, in the tournament. Only went 4 twice. I think the last match he won 3, 4, and 2. Didn't break a sweat until he started screaming at the fans for booing him. I think he's in a great, and I said this before the tournament started on this show, that I thought he would get all the way to the finals. And Wilbon said, no, he won't. Well, he is going to get there. And it's bad luck for Alcaraz, who's got to get through Medvedev, which could go 5,
right.
or vice versa,
Right.
could go 5. And it's bad news for Margaret Court and her 24 majors, because it looks like Djokovic is going to win 25.
Yeah.
Frank, I wanted him to play Fritz, though, because Fritz went through the same procedure at the same timeline at Wimbledon a few years ago. And Djokovic had consulted him about it. So, anyway, all right. Give me a bell and we'll get out of here. I can pay attention to that. Let's take a break. Coming up, the Yankees lose again. What levers could Brian Cashman pull? We're going to ask Buster Olney.
We'll also ask him whether Chris Sale, who just won his 12th last night, should start the All-Star game.
Please tell me that the soccer is over for the next 2 days and we're not starting PTI with it again and again. Possibly.
You got third place games. You got to watch out for those. Those are always important. They play those games too.
The Yankees lost for the 16th time in 21 games last night. To dig into that and other baseball issues, we welcome in our great friend, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball reporter and senior writer Buster Olney, who, if all else fails, knows how to do 2 things that will always keep him employed. He can milk cows and he can make bagels. And we go to the first question. Brian Cashman flew down to Tampa to be with the struggling Yankees. Do you have any sense of what levers that the front office could actually pull here?
Yeah, Tony, they are absolutely open to all kinds of possible improvements. And look, the obvious need within their rosters for bullpen help. They will be talking with other teams about relievers in the 20 days before the trade deadline. But I think they're also going to look at adding production potentially at third base. And I think they're going to have a conversation internally in speaking with sources about Gleyber Torres, their second baseman. And if they believe he's going to step it up before we get the trade deadline, if not, I would not be surprised if they add a couple of offensive players and a couple of pitchers.
Well, he milks cows, he makes bagels, but he also writes good books. And it's hard to believe it's more than 20 years ago since your great book, The Last Night of the Yankee Dynasty. Who knows when we're going to see another one? You need great players to make that happen. One of those players is Juan Soto, who's become really popular up in the Bronx, but he's in a contract here, Buster. Are the Yankees locked in to extending him?
Frank, absolutely not. Look, Juan Soto is a client of Scott Boras. And you know that Scott almost always takes his players into free agency. Earlier this year, when Hal Steinbrenner, the Yankees owner, talked about, we might be open to having a conversation during the year, executives with other teams were laughing. And they were saying, why would he say that in the middle of the year? Because there's almost no chance that they would work out a deal. I think in the end, Juan Soto's going to have a choice between a bigger offer than what the Yankees make in the offseason, or does he stay with the Yankees for less money? I don't think the Yankees, who have so much money committed to Aaron Judge, $360 million, will make the biggest offer to Soto. I think that in the end, that may come from the Mets or some other team. I think this might be one and done with Juan Soto in the Bronx unless he decides, look, I just love playing for the Yankees.
Interesting. Let me ask you about the Yankees of the West Coast, the Dodgers. Their all-star pitcher, Tyler Glasnow, now is on the IL. He joins Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Yamamoto. What is the state of the Dodger pitching staff right now?
Kind of a mess, which is why, in talking with sources today, the Dodgers are out in the marketplace looking at starting pitching. The big fish, I think, who is available in the trade market is Garrett Crochet of the Chicago White Sox. He's big, he's left-handed, he's physical. And the Dodgers typically land one of the biggest names in every year's trade market, but there is concern about Crochet's innings. I wonder if the Dodgers would pay less for someone like an Eric Fetty of the Chicago White Sox, or maybe Chris Bassett of the Toronto Blue Jays, if the Blue Jays decide they're going to be sellers. A lot of teams would love to get their hands on Bassett. I think the Dodgers would be one of those.
Eric Fetty, a name from my past. He pitched for the Washington Nationals. I watched him for a few years here. We'll get you out on this, and this is strictly about personal preference. I believe that Skeens should start in the All-Star game. I believe he's the biggest draw, and I want to see him pitch against Aaron Judge. Wilbon emphatically believes it should either be Chris Sale or Ranger Suarez. You can be the arbiter on this, even though Wilbon's not here. Who do you think should start in the All-Star game for the National League?
All right, I'm not pandering here. Tony, I completely agree with you. Look, back in the day, the All-Star game result used to matter. The players cared. The Willie Mays, the Hank Aaron's, the Roberto Clementis would get 4 and 5 at bats. That's not what the All-Star game is anymore. It's just an exhibition. It's a Little League participation trophy type of game, right? It's not that big of a deal. And given that, don't worry about who's the most deserving, who has the best stats. Give the fans what they want. And I think fans want to see Paul Skeens on the mound. He is must-watch television. He's a tremendous pitcher, throws 100, 203 miles per hour. He's got the girlfriend with 5.3 million followers on Instagram. Let Paul Skeens start this game.
This makes me so happy. It does. Eat it, Wilbon, if you're watching.
You're both right.
Thank you,
You're both
Buster.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, a hot start for a Reds rookie.
And Argentina is into the Copa America final, but who will they face there?
It's a television show. Put your
You
best
guys-
television attraction out there in the first inning. Let people
guys are
start the
100%
game
right.
with you.
That's it.
Happy time, people. Happy 35th birthday, Will Smith. This is Will Smith, the Royals reliever. It's not Will Smith, the Dodgers catcher, nor Will Smith, the actor who slapped Chris Rock in the face at the Oscars. This Smith isn't having a particularly good season. He's 0-3 with a 4.88 ERA in 31 games. But this Will Smith is on a great winning streak. He has been on the last 3 World Series champions. Smith was on the Atlanta Braves in 2021 and pitched 11 scoreless innings in the postseason. He was on the Astros in 2022 and on the Texas Rangers last year, where he led the team in regular season saves with 22. And now Kansas City is only a game and a half out of the wild card.
Yeah, this is the one Will Smith that doesn't have to rehabilitate his image. 114 career saves, and as you mentioned, the 3 straight World Series, he's a one-man dynasty.
Happy anniversary, Phil Jackson. On this day 35 years ago, Chicago Bulls GM Jerry Krause promoted Jackson from Doug Collins' assistant and into his first NBA head coaching job. How'd that work out? Well, Jackson won 6 NBA championships with Michael Jordan in Chicago, and then won 5 NBA championships with the Los Angeles Lakers, some with Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant playing together, and some with Bryant after Shaquille left. As someone who covered Phil Jackson as a player on the New York Knicks, and I did, it gave me great joy to see his success as a coach, knowing how much he had learned from his coach, Red Holtzman.
Yeah, and a lot of those titles with the Bulls came at the expense of the New York Knicks. But those rivalries and those series with Phil Jackson, Pat Riley, going back and forth in the papers,
yeah,
that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, Phil always thought that Red Holtzman was underappreciated. Happy trails
right.
to last night's game for the Rockies. Reds rookie right fielder Rhys Hines led the Reds to the 12-6 win. In his first 2 games in the majors, the 23-year-old Hines is 5 for 8 with 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and a triple. That's the first time since at least 1901 that a player has 5 extra base hits over his first 2 games. Notably, Hines was hitting just .216 with a 43% strikeout rate at AAA Louisville before his call-up. Yesterday in the same segment, we talked about a different Red, Elly De La Cruz, stealing 2 bases before getting thrown out trying to steal home. Well, last night, De La Cruz appeared to urge Spencer Steer on second to steal third, just so De La Cruz could try to steal second, none of which sadly ended up happening.
I love Elly De La Cruz. In a league where it's all home runs or strikeouts, he has 45 steals in 98 games, and he's so electric on the bases. He's always looking to take the extra base. He's an exciting player to watch, no question about it.
One omission, Frank. Doug McIntyre of Fox Sports reports that Greg Berhalter is out as the head coach of the U.S. men's national soccer team.
Yeah, not that surprising with the way that we flamed out in the Copa America. There's been talk they're going to hire somebody before September 7th. Look for Jurgen Klopp. He's the former manager of Liverpool. Steve Cherundolo is an American who played on the national team, coaches in L.A. He would be another candidate for the job.
Quick to the big finish, if we could. Lionel Messi scored last night as Argentina beat Canada. You were there, Frank. Your takeaway?
Well, it was hot, as you know, in East Rutherford in July. It's not always so beautiful. But I'll tell you what, Argentina didn't look that great. They're beatable on Sunday. The Liberty beat the Sun this morning. Is that significant?
Yes, morning games are great. I'm up in the morning. I like this. Shota Imanaga of the Cubs against Corbin Burns of the Orioles tonight. Are you intrigued?
I like it. Two pitchers with a combined 16 wins. Imanaga, he has not pitched in over a week. Jacksonville Jaguars pass rusher Josh Allen is changing his name to Josh Hines Allen. Does that make sense?
Well, what if the quarterback now changes his name to Josh Hines? How would you like that? Last one.
That's a
the
good one.
second Copa America semi tonight, Uruguay and Colombia. Who you got, Mr. Soccer? Quick.
I got Colombia. They've won 27 straight. They're going to win tonight.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. Live TV ain't nothing like it, kids.
I'm Frank Isola. Thanks for watching. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. And now, here's more soccer on Sports Center. Man, we did a lot of soccer today.
Yeah.
You delivered, too.
Probably too much soccer. Probably too
You're
much.
like Ollie
huh?
Watkins.
Me and Frank, tonight's PTI bonus.
All right, Frank, are you more concerned about the Yankees or the Dodgers right now?
I would say both. When you look at the Dodgers, though, with Tyler Glasnow now joining, Walker Buehler, and also Clayton Kershaw, Yamamoto on the injured list. But, Tony, you know this. When it gets to the postseason, you need two pitchers. And the Dodgers are confident they're going to get at least some of these guys back. The Yankees, it's a problem. And for me, it's them because since mid-June, worst record in baseball. And now you're hearing stories where there's a Steinbrenner and the GM on the road with the team. We knew 30 years ago that was a bad thing if George Steinbrenner was joining the team. He's not around anymore. But something happened in the past week, and this has been a problem with this team under Aaron Boone. On July 4th, which is an American holiday in the Bronx, it's George Steinbrenner's birthday, when you had Trent Grisham lollygag a single into a double. The next night, Anthony Volpe doesn't score from first on a double play where there wasn't a force out. This has been a problem with this team. Hustle plays, lack of focus. This has gone on for a long time. And, Tony, you could say, well, let's excuse it. They haven't won under Aaron Boone. That, to me, has been the biggest issue with this Yankee team.
Yeah, the Yankees have problems hitting and pitching. I don't know what else there is in baseball. When you're not hitting and you're not pitching, that's why you go 5-16. They have about 70 games to fix that. Can they fix it? Sure, anybody can fix it. But you don't know if they're going to fix it. The Dodgers have problems with pitching, and their pitchers are not available. And you know what, Frank? There's a plague going on in baseball with pitching. And Major League Baseball has to figure out, identify this problem and solve this problem. Because it's not just the Yankees and the Dodgers. It's every team. As people go on the injured list or people need Tommy John. But relative to this specific question, the Dodgers are still hitting and scoring runs. So I am less worried. I'm less worried about them than I am about the Yankees. Am I more worried about their competition because the Phillies are really, really good? You know, yeah, I'd be more worried about that, but less worried about the Dodgers than I am about the Yankees.
Yeah, and we do have the trade deadline coming up, but sometimes it's not just about players. Sometimes it's about an attitude adjustment, which I think would help the Yankees. All right, that's it. We're done. Back to you.